that Travis designed that ring?
He did. He designed it. And I had shown him a video of I just thought her stuff was so cool. So I'd shown him a video a year and a half ago. And he was just paying attention to everything, it turns out. Because when I saw the ring, I was like, oh, I know who made that. I know who made that. I know who made that. And also, you listen to me.
The crowd was roaring, lights flashing like stars falling from the heavens. And there she was, Taylor Swift, standing at the edge of the field, clutching her heart in disbelief. For years, she had sung about heartbreak, about the kind of love that burns bright and then fades into ash. But that night, something was different. The Kansas City Chiefs had just pulled off another victory, and as Travis Kelce lifted his helmet, his eyes locked onto hers. A single glance that millions of fans would replay in their minds for months. That moment wasn't scripted. It wasn't part of the show, but it became the show. People said it looked like a scene out of one of her own songs, a love story that even Taylor couldn't have written better herself. But behind the cheers and the flashing cameras, there was something deeper. A spark that neither of them had planned for. Travis, the confident, charming tight end with swagger and confidence dripping from every move, and Taylor, the world's biggest pop star who had mastered the art of turning emotion into melody. Their worlds weren't supposed to collide, but they did. And once they did, nothing was the same again. It all began quietly. Long before the public saw anything, before the memes and the fan edits, before the headlines screamed, "Taylor Swift dating Travis Kelce?" There were just two people curious about each other. Travis had gone to her concert like any other fan, except he wasn't just any fan. He'd brought a friendship bracelet with his number on it, a bold move that the internet couldn't stop talking about. Taylor never responded, not at first. But something about that gesture stuck with her. Maybe it was his confidence, or maybe it was the fact that he didn't chase fame. He was already in his own lane, successful, respected, and grounded. Weeks passed, and Taylor couldn't stop thinking about it. Her life had been a whirlwind of rehearsals, interviews, and tour stops. But sometimes, in the quiet moments backstage, her mind wandered to the guy who dared to shoot his shot. She'd been with artists, actors, dreamers, men who lived in the clouds. But Travis? He was real. He wasn't writing songs about heartbreak or chasing spotlight drama. He was chasing touchdowns. He was chasing greatness. It was a late summer night when they first met again. Secretly, away from the flashing lights. No cameras, no entourage, just two people in conversation. Taylor later told her closest friend that she felt something weirdly calm around him. Not butterflies, peace. And that's when she realized something was different. He didn't treat her like Taylor Swift, the superstar. He treated her like Taylor, the girl from Pennsylvania who still loved making cookies at midnight and writing lyrics on napkins. As weeks turned into months, whispers turned into rumors. People speculated, dissected every glance, every outfit, every lyric. Is it real? They asked. Is this just another PR move? But Taylor didn't care. For once, she wasn't performing for anyone. She was just living. And Travis? He wasn't overwhelmed by her fame. He respected it, but he didn't worship it. That's what made him different. One night, after one of her shows, Taylor stood by the dressing room mirror, still in her glittering stage outfit. Her team had left, the crowd was gone, and the stadium was quiet. Her phone buzzed, a text from Travis. "You killed it tonight," it read. "But I bet you're even better when you're just you." She smiled, putting the phone down slowly. That was the first time she realized, and this wasn't just another fling. This was someone who saw her beyond the fame. The media, of course, went into overdrive. Tabloids were exploding with theories. Taylor's next love song is about Travis. Travis moves into Taylor's circle. Fans began analyzing her lyrics, her outfits, even her concert set list, searching for clues. But the truth was simple. It wasn't about fame anymore. It was about connection. Still, the pressure was real. Taylor had been in love before, and it had ended in chaos. The heartbreaks, the public scrutiny, the endless question, who broke whose heart? Who inspired which song? It was exhausting. So when Travis asked her to take things slow, she agreed. And that's when it hit her. This man wasn't chasing clout. He was protecting her peace. The first time she attended his game, the stadium nearly exploded. Cameras zoomed in, fans screamed, signs reading "Swifties for Kelce" filled the air. But while everyone focused on the spectacle, Taylor's eyes were fixed on one thing: Travis on the field. The power, the focus, the fire, it reminded her of herself. Two people at the top of their worlds, both obsessed with their craft. She could feel it. He understood what it meant to give everything for a dream. That night, she told her mom, he gets it. He really gets it. And then came that moment. A quiet dinner after the game. No cameras, no stylists, no fans. Just laughter, pizza, and the sound of rain outside. Travis reached across the table and said something that froze her in her tracks. "You don't have to be perfect around me." Taylor looked up, eyes wide. For years, she'd lived under pressure. Every outfit analyzed, every lyric decoded, every move criticized. But here was someone who didn't care about the spectacle. He just wanted her to breathe. That's when she knew. The moment she realized Travis Kelce wasn't like the others, he was the one who saw the woman behind the fame. She couldn't shake the feeling. That one sentence, "You don't have to be perfect around me," kept echoing in her mind long after that rainy night ended. For the first time in years, Taylor didn't overanalyze it. She didn't wonder how it would sound in a song or whether the world would approve. She just felt safe. And that was rare. The next few weeks passed quietly, almost suspiciously quiet for someone like Taylor Swift. There were no leaks, no anonymous sources, no grainy photos, just two people enjoying something normal for once. Travis would fly out between games, catching her shows in secret cities, slipping in and out of arenas through hidden entrances. And when she wasn't performing, Taylor was learning the rhythm of his world. Late-night practices, team dinners, recovery routines. It was a clash of lifestyles, sure. The pop queen and the football star. But somehow it worked. Maybe it was because both of them understood what it meant to have the world watching your every move. Or maybe it was because they both had built their success from pure work ethic. There was a shared respect that few could understand. Still, the public eventually caught on. Fans started connecting dots. A Chiefs hat here, a lyric change there. Then came the photo. You know the one, Taylor in that private suite at Arrowhead Stadium cheering her heart out. The camera panned, and there she was, next to Travis's mom. The internet erupted. She met the mom? It's official. This is the biggest crossover in pop culture history. And suddenly, the quiet love story wasn't quiet anymore. At first, Taylor laughed it off. She'd been through media storms before. It came with the territory. But what she didn't expect was how Travis handled it. Most men she'd dated before had hidden from the spotlight, overwhelmed by it. Travis? He leaned in. Calm, confident, unbothered. When reporters asked him about her, he didn't dodge. He smiled and said, "She's amazing." That was it. No games, no PR-approved scripts, just honesty. And that honesty melted her. It was strange, though. For a woman who had built an empire off of heartbreak anthems, Taylor suddenly found herself writing differently. Her journal entries weren't filled with confusion or pain. They were filled with gratitude. She wrote about feeling seen, grounded, real. But as her pen danced across the paper, part of her feared it was too good to be true. Because in her world, good things often came with a price. Then came the backlash. Because of course it did. The internet, which once celebrated the fairy tale, turned divided. Some fans loved the idea of her dating a tough, all-American athlete. Others accused her of selling out, saying she was too public. Every smile, every handhold became a debate. Is it PR? Is this genuine? Is she distracting him from football? It was endless. Taylor stayed quiet publicly, but privately it got to her. One night, she called Travis after a particularly harsh headline. "Maybe we should step back," she whispered. "Maybe the world doesn't want this." Travis didn't even hesitate. "Then let's stop caring what the world wants," he said. "Let's care about us." Those words hit her harder than she expected. All her life, she'd been the girl who cared about critics, fans, awards, charts, perception. But for once, she wanted to care about something that wasn't for show. That night, she cried. Not from sadness, but from the weight of finally letting go. Over the next months, their connection only deepened. Travis brought her into his circle, introducing her to teammates, friends, and family. No pretense, no protection. And Taylor did the same, taking him backstage, showing him the madness of her touring life. At first, her team was skeptical. Dating a football player was risky. The timing, the schedules, the media overlap, it all screamed disaster. But every time they were together, something in Taylor softened. Travis didn't flinch when she had to leave for back-to-back shows. He didn't make her feel guilty for her fame. In fact, he admired it. He'd text her after concerts. "The way those people light up when you sing, that's what greatness looks like." And Taylor? She'd be on the other side of the world, watching his games on her phone, screaming every time he scored. She'd joke, "You're stealing my stadium crowds now." There was one particular night, during the middle of her international tour, when she realized the depth of it. She'd just finished performing in front of 80,000 people, the crowd still echoing her lyrics. Backstage, her phone buzzed. A video message from Travis. He was in the locker room, still in his jersey, sweat dripping, but grinning ear to ear. "We both crushed it tonight," he said. Different fields, same fire. That one line, it hit her. They weren't just dating. They were mirrors. Both relentless, both passionate, both carrying the weight of expectations and still smiling through it. That's when it clicked for her. This wasn't just romance. This was partnership. Still, there were challenges. The distance, the pressure, the constant noise of fame. But every time she thought it might break them, Travis found a way to pull her back. He'd fly across time zones just to spend one night with her before flying back for practice. He didn't make grand gestures for the cameras. He made quiet ones, like holding her hand during anxiety attacks, or staying up late listening to her hum unfinished melodies. And slowly she realized, love wasn't supposed to feel like chaos. It was supposed to feel like calm. The night that sealed it came unexpectedly. They were in a cabin, far from the cities, far from fans, just a fire crackling and snow falling outside. Taylor had been restless all evening, pacing, thinking about the headlines, the pressure, the noise. "What if it all goes away?" she finally said. "The fame, the tours, the success. What if one day it's just gone?" Travis looked up, smiled faintly, and said, "Then I'll still be here." It was simple, no poetry, no promises wrapped in glitter, just truth. And that was enough. That was the moment she knew. This was real. The days that followed that snowy night in the cabin were different. Taylor felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not the fleeting, fake kind that comes between chaos, but real, grounded stillness. She'd wake up next to him, no makeup, no cameras, just the crackle of firewood and the smell of coffee, and for once, she didn't feel like the world's biggest pop star. She just felt like a woman in love. But peace doesn't last long when your life belongs to the public. The moment they returned to the city, the whispers began again. Every fan photo, every blurry video, it spread like wildfire. One clip in particular went viral. Taylor at a Chiefs game, wearing Travis's number on her jacket, laughing uncontrollably while cheering him on. The internet exploded. It was everywhere, on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram Reels. "Taylor's gone full football girlfriend." The comments read. Some were supportive, others brutal. "She's using him for PR. He's her next song. She's too distracting for him." Taylor scrolled through the comments one night sitting alone in her dressing room. She told herself she didn't care. But she did. The words cut deeper than she wanted to admit. No matter how many Grammys she'd won, no matter how many stadiums she'd sold out, part of her still sought approval. Maybe because she'd spent her entire life performing for it. Travis noticed her silence. Later that night, he called her. "You've been quiet," he said softly. She tried to sound casual. "Just tired." He wasn't buying it. "No, you're thinking. That tone, that's your overthinking voice." She laughed weakly. "You know me too well." "That's the point," he replied. "Look, Tay, I can't stop the noise. But I can promise you this, I'll never add to it." It was small, but those words became her anchor. Still, the storm outside grew louder. Paparazzi started waiting outside her hotels again. Fans speculated about every interaction. Did they break up? Is he cheating? Is she writing another breakup album? It was insane. Headlines built on nothing, but believed by millions. Then came the interview, the one that changed everything. Travis sat down with a sports reporter who asked about Taylor. The world waited, expecting a dodge, maybe a no comment. But instead, he smiled and said, "She makes life a little more fun." That was it. No drama. No clickbait. Just a line so simple it made people stop scrolling. Taylor saw it later that night, and something inside her cracked open. The honesty, the warmth. It reminded her why she fell for him in the first place. She sent him a short message. "You really said that?" He texted back, "I meant it." That week, she decided something bold. She wouldn't hide anymore. Not this time. Not this love. Her team wasn't thrilled. "You know what the headlines will say," her manager warned. "If this goes south, it'll be everywhere." Taylor smiled. If I'm going to be talked about either way, I'd rather it be for something real. So she showed up again, met another game. No disguises, no running from cameras. She waved. She laughed. She was happy. And for once, the world didn't see Taylor Swift the brand. They saw Taylor Swift, the woman who looked genuinely in love. Behind the scenes, things were even more intense. She'd started writing again. Not breakup songs, not heartbreak anthems, but music about trust, peace, and the beauty of starting over. One track in particular became deeply personal. The lyrics spoke about the man who reminded her what quiet felt like. Fans wouldn't hear it for months, but those who did later said it felt like a diary. Raw, unfiltered, real. But with love came vulnerability. And with vulnerability came fear. During a late-night studio session, Taylor confessed to her producer, "It scares me how much I care. Every time I've loved someone like this, it's ended with headlines and heartbreak." Her producer looked up and said, "Maybe this time it won't end. Maybe it'll just evolve." That thought lingered. Maybe love didn't have to be perfect. Maybe it didn't have to end in fire and destruction. Maybe it could just last. Then, as if fate were testing them, came the toughest moment yet. The media had started speculating that Travis was distracted, that his focus on football was slipping because of his pop star girlfriend. It was a ridiculous claim, but it spread fast. Sports analysts, talk shows, even late-night hosts joined in. Taylor was furious, not at the headlines, but at herself. She blamed her fame for the pressure it put on him. That night, she called Travis, her voice breaking. "I never wanted to hurt your career. Maybe it's better if we—" "Don't you dare finish that sentence," he interrupted. His tone was calm but firm. "You think I can't handle pressure? You think I'd trade you for a scoreboard?" She fell silent. He continued, "I've been hit harder on the field than by any headline. I knew what I was getting into, Taylor. You're not my distraction, you're my balance." Tears streamed down her face. Nobody had ever said that to her. Every relationship before had made her feel too much. Too famous, too emotional, too complicated. But Travis saw her differently. He didn't see a liability, and he saw a partner. From that moment, she stopped apologizing for being herself. When her next concert rolled around, she looked out at the roaring stadium, the lights, the signs, the chants. And in the middle of that chaos, she spotted him in the crowd, wearing her tour hoodie, cheering like a proud fan. For a second, she forgot the cameras, the world, the critics. All she saw was him. And right there, under the blinding lights, she smiled. The kind of smile that told you she wasn't performing anymore. She was living. That night, after the show, she wrote 4 words in her notebook. The same 4 that would later become the heart of a song the world couldn't stop streaming. "He feels like home." The world didn't know it yet, but Taylor was about to make her most personal move. Something no PR team, no manager, no publicist saw coming. After that night, the one where she wrote, "He feels like home," Taylor started to change in quiet ways. She began canceling unnecessary appearances, cutting out interviews that didn't feel genuine, choosing silence over spectacle. It wasn't about hiding. It was about protecting something real. For years, her love stories had belonged to the public. Every relationship became a narrative. Every heartbreak became a hit song. But this time, she didn't want to write for the world. She wanted to live for herself. It was late one evening when the idea came to her, a small private getaway. No cameras. No security entourage. No red carpets. Just her and Travis alone. She texted him, "I need to disappear for a bit." "You in?" His reply came seconds later. "Always." The next week, they vanished. No paparazzi, no sightings, no airport photos. The world speculated as usual. Did they break up? Is this a publicity stunt? Has Taylor gone off-grid? But behind all that noise, they were somewhere deep in Montana, tucked away in a cozy cabin near a frozen lake. Taylor had chosen the spot carefully. No Wi-Fi, no reporters, just snow, silence, and a fireplace. For the first few days, it felt surreal. No makeup artists. No stylists. No deadlines. Just her and him, waking up late, making pancakes, laughing about nothing. One morning, as the sun rose through the frosted windows, she caught Travis outside, chopping firewood in the cold. It was something simple, ordinary, but that's what made it so extraordinary. For someone who'd spent half her life surrounded by fame, the normality of it all felt like magic. He wasn't performing. He wasn't trying to impress her. He was just existing. She watched him through the window for a long moment, her hands wrapped around a mug of cocoa. And then she smiled to herself. This was the moment. Not the red carpets, not the stadium lights, not the sold-out shows. This was the moment she knew. Later, when he came back inside, his hair messy, cheeks red from the cold, she handed him a towel and said, "You know what's crazy?" He grinned. "What's that?" "I think this is the happiest I've ever been, and it's just us here doing nothing." He looked at her, eyes soft but steady. "That's the trick, Tay. Happiness isn't the noise. It's the quiet after it." Something about that hit her deeply. She leaned in and kissed him, slow, unhurried, like time had stopped. For a few seconds, it felt like the world outside didn't exist. When they finally returned to civilization, Taylor was different. Her team noticed it immediately, calmer, lighter, more grounded. She wasn't rushing through meetings or obsessing over charts. She'd start humming random tunes between takes, smiling for no reason. Even during her performances, fans noticed a glow they hadn't seen before. One clip from her tour went viral. She was performing Lover, and right before the final verse, she looked off stage and smiled like she knew a secret the crowd didn't. Of course, fans went crazy. Was Travis there? Did she just smile at him? The theories spiraled as always. But this time, Taylor didn't clarify. She didn't deny it. She didn't post anything. For once, she let people wonder, because some things were better left unspoken. Behind the scenes, Travis was still her biggest supporter. He'd attend her shows quietly, staying out of the spotlight when he could. When people recognized him, he'd laugh and take pictures, never making a scene. It was the perfect balance, his world of grit and competition, and her world of art and emotion, somehow blending effortlessly. But it wasn't all perfect. Fame doesn't sleep, and neither did the tabloids. When one of Travis's exes made headlines with subtle shade thrown online, the internet erupted in speculation again. Is Taylor jealous? Trouble in paradise? Taylor saw it, of course. She saw everything. For a few hours, that familiar pit in her stomach returned. That old voice whispering, "This is how it starts. This is how they twist it." But before the anxiety could spiral, she got a message from Travis. Ignore the noise. They can't touch what's real. And for the first time in her career, she believed it. Then came the night that would end up defining everything. The Chiefs had just clinched a massive win, and the entire stadium was electric. Fans chanted, cameras flashed, and reporters swarmed. Taylor was in her usual private box, surrounded by friends, but all she could think about was him. When the game ended, Travis walked straight off the field. Not to the locker room, not to reporters, but toward her. The cameras caught every step. The crowd screamed louder than they had all night. When he reached her, he didn't care about the world watching. He just pulled her in, hugged her tight, and whispered something that the microphones didn't catch. Later, someone would zoom in on the footage and swear they saw him mouth the words, "You're my piece." The internet exploded. Did you see that? He said she's his piece. This is the real deal. Taylor didn't confirm it, but her reaction said everything. She kissed him on the cheek, smiled, and whispered something back. Those who read lips claim she said, "You already were." That clip alone broke the internet. News outlets called it the most genuine celebrity moment of the year. Even critics who usually dismissed her relationships as PR stunts admitted. This one felt different. It felt human. That night, back in her hotel room, Taylor opened her laptop and started writing. The words poured out effortlessly. She wasn't writing for radio or charts. She was writing for him. The song became a secret, one she'd never confirm publicly, but one he'd hear first. A week later, she played it for him in private. Just her guitar, her voice, and a quiet room. When she finished, Travis was silent. Then he said softly, "That's us, isn't it?" She smiled, every word. He reached for her hand. "Then don't ever let this world make you doubt it." And in that moment, surrounded by nothing but music and warmth, Taylor realized this wasn't just love. It was home. The world moved fast, but Taylor didn't. She'd spent years chasing the next tour, the next milestone, the next era, but now she was learning to slow down. It was strange, almost unsettling at first. She was used to living in headlines, used to hearing her name shouted from every direction. Yet suddenly she found herself craving silence. Not the lonely kind, the kind that feels like safety, the kind that feels like him. Everywhere she went, their story followed. Paparazzi captured every look, every touch, every smile. Fan pages dedicated entire threads to decoding their body language, their outfits, even the way they walked together. And while most celebrities would have panicked under that kind of attention, Taylor handled it differently this time. She didn't hide. She didn't perform. She just existed. At an award show that winter, she stunned everyone when she arrived alone. No entourage, no pretense. But halfway through the night, as she accepted her award for Artist of the Year, she paused mid-speech. Her voice trembled slightly, not from nerves, but from sincerity. "I've written songs about heartbreak, about loss, about finding yourself after the storm," she said, scanning the crowd. "But lately, I've learned something new. Sometimes love doesn't come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with quiet, with peace. And that's when you know it's real." The audience erupted in applause. They didn't know she was talking about Travis, but those who'd been paying attention, they knew. After the show, when she got backstage, her phone buzzed. A text from him. It read, "Proud of you? You looked at peace up there." She replied, "You're the reason I do." It was short, simple, and perfect. In the following weeks, their love story became impossible to ignore. Every major outlet covered it. People, Vogue, E! News, even Sports Illustrated. The headlines read things like "Taylor and Travis, the real deal," and "the power couple nobody saw coming." But what truly caught everyone's attention wasn't the glitz. It was the authenticity. They weren't selling an image. They were living a truth. Still, fame always finds a way to test sincerity. During one of Travis's post-game press conferences, a reporter asked the question everyone was dying to know. "Travis, do you think Taylor's the one?" The room went silent. You could practically feel the tension. Every camera zoomed in, every journalist leaned forward. Travis chuckled, looking down for a moment before glancing back up with that familiar grin. "I don't know about you," he said, quoting one of her famous lyrics, "but I'm feeling pretty lucky." The room erupted in laughter and applause. It was witty, it was playful, but it was also the perfect deflection. He'd said everything without saying anything. When Taylor saw the clip later that night, she laughed so hard she nearly cried. "You really quoted me?" she texted. "Had to," he replied. "You started it." Moments like that made everything else worth it. The noise, the cameras, the speculation, it all faded when it was just them. Then came the charity gala, a night that would go down as one of the most unforgettable moments of their entire story. Taylor wasn't scheduled to perform. She was there simply to support Travis, who had been invited to speak about his foundation's work. The evening was filled with speeches, laughter, and elegant faces. But when Travis took the stage, his tone shifted from confident to heartfelt. "People ask me all the time what success feels like," he began. "And I tell them, it's not the trophies or the fame. It's the people who remind you why you started in the first place. For me, success feels like gratitude. And lately, it's felt like love." He didn't say her name. He didn't need to. Every camera in the room turned to Taylor. She was blushing, trying to hide her smile, but the emotion was written all over her face. Later that night, as they sat on a balcony overlooking the city lights, Taylor whispered, "You didn't have to say that, you know." He smiled. "I didn't say anything." She shook her head, grinning. "You said everything." There was a long pause, the kind of silence that didn't need filling. The city buzzed below them, but up there it was just them. Two people who had built entire worlds on passion and performance, finally finding stillness in each other. "Travis?" she said softly. "Yeah?" She hesitated, then spoke the truth she'd been holding back for months. "You were the first person who didn't fall in love with my songs. You fell in love with the silence between them." He looked at her for a long time before replying, "That's because that's where the real you lives." She leaned her head on his shoulder, eyes glistening. That was the moment she realized. It wasn't about fame or attention or the world finally rooting for her love story. It was about being seen, truly seen, by someone who didn't need her to be perfect. And for Taylor, that was everything. But fate wasn't done with their story just yet. The next morning, photos from the gala went viral. Taylor in her black dress, Travis beside her, their hands intertwined. The media called it the official confirmation. Fans lost their minds. Hashtags trended for days. Taylor and Travis, finally official, the one. But none of that mattered to them. While the internet obsessed, they were already on a plane, escaping the noise once again, this time to a small island where no one cared who they were. That evening, as they watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and violet, Travis turned to her and said quietly, "You know, I used to think my biggest wins were on the field. Now I realize my real win was finding you." She didn't say anything at first. She just smiled, her eyes reflecting the ocean. Then she whispered, "That's funny. Because the moment I saw you walk off that field toward me, I knew you were the one." And there it was, the moment she'd later talk about in interviews years down the line. The moment she knew Travis Kelce was the one. It wasn't during a concert. It wasn't in a love song. It was in real life, raw, unscripted, and beautifully imperfect. The confession came quietly, but its echo was deafening. Taylor hadn't meant for the world to hear it, that small, private sentence she whispered to Travis under a fading sunset. But somehow, someone did. Maybe it was the fan who spotted them on that remote island. Maybe it was the waiter who couldn't resist the story. Or maybe it was fate deciding their secret deserved to be told. Within hours, the internet caught fire. Headlines flooded every corner of social media. Taylor Swift confirmed she knew Travis was the one. Swift and Kelce's love story feels like a movie. From the stage to the stadium, Taylor's happily ever after. For once, the world wasn't divided. It wasn't filled with critics, gossip, or drama. It was filled with support. Fans cried watching old clips of them together, editing montages to "You Belong With Me" and "Lover." Even people who'd never considered themselves Swifties were moved by the rawness of it all. But for Taylor and Travis, the moment was sacred. Something they didn't want to turn into content or PR. That evening, as they scrolled through the tidal wave of reactions, Taylor put her phone down and looked at Travis. "Can we just not post anything?" she asked softly. Travis nodded immediately. "We don't need to say a word." And they didn't. For the first time in her career, Taylor let a story tell itself. No interviews. No captions. No statements. Just silence. And it spoke louder than any lyric she'd ever written. But silence has a way of inviting speculation. Some media outlets began twisting the narrative, claiming the relationship was a strategic romance, that Taylor was using it to reinvent herself once again. Others dug into Travis's past, trying to find cracks in the fairy tale. When Taylor saw one of those headlines flash across her screen, she sighed. "It's starting again," she whispered. Travis looked at her calmly. "Then we do what we always do. Let the truth outshine the noise." He meant it. He wasn't the type to post cryptic tweets or engage in drama. His stability was exactly what Taylor had needed all along. That night, she picked up her guitar, not to write a comeback, not to respond, but to feel. The melody came naturally, soft and slow, the kind of song that didn't demand attention but deserved it. The lyrics were simple. "You were the calm in my hurricane, the whisper that drowned out the fame. I found forever, not in the lights, but in your eyes that made wrongs feel right." She didn't release it, not yet. She just played it for him. Travis sat there quietly, his head lowered, absorbing every word. When she finished, he looked up, his eyes glistening. "That's us," he said. She smiled. "It is." A few weeks later, she surprised everyone when she performed at a small, intimate venue in Nashville. No cameras, no press, just pure music. Fans who were lucky enough to attend described it as one of the most emotional performances of her life. Near the end, she sang that unreleased song, the one she wrote for Travis. The crowd fell completely silent. No one recorded it, out of respect. It became a whispered legend among fans. The song she wrote for him that no one will ever hear again. But while Taylor was finding peace in simplicity, the world wasn't ready to let her rest. Rumors started swirling again. Proposals, wedding plans, secret engagements. Every time she wore a ring or Travis appeared at one of her concerts, the internet exploded. One day, during a rare day off, Travis found her scrolling through the chaos on her phone. "You know they've already planned our wedding menu?" she said, half laughing, half tired. He grinned. "I hope they picked good food." She laughed, finally putting the phone away. "I don't think I could survive being married in headlines." He took her hand gently. "Then let's not do it for them. Let's do it for us." And that was exactly what they did. Months later, after both of their seasons, hers of music, his of football, wrapped up, they disappeared. No one knew where they went. No one saw them for weeks. The internet buzzed with theories, but there were no sightings, no leaks, no insider scoops. Just silence. Until one morning, an anonymous photo surfaced. It showed a quiet beach in Rhode Island. In the center, two figures walked hand in hand, barefoot in the sand. One of them wore a simple white dress. The other, a linen shirt, smiling like he'd just won something far greater than any trophy. The internet exploded again. Are they married? Is this Taylor's secret wedding? Taylor's rep declined to comment. Travis's family said nothing, but eagle-eyed fans noticed something different, a small gold band on his finger. Still, Taylor stayed silent. Until one night, at a private listening party for her closest friends and collaborators, she played a new track. The room fell silent as her voice filled the air. No altar, no vow, no grand design, just you and me where the waves align. The world can guess, they'll never know, I found forever, I won't let it show. When the last note faded, she looked around at her friends, all stunned, teary-eyed. Did you? One of them began to ask. Taylor just smiled. Some things aren't meant for headlines. The mystery became part of their magic. Whether they were secretly married or simply deeply in love, no one could tell. And that's how they liked it. Over time, their story stopped being about fame and became something else, something timeless. A love that wasn't performative or polished, but real. In interviews, Travis still talked about football, Taylor still talked about music, but every once in a while, a smile would cross her face at the mention of his name. And fans could tell, that wasn't PR, that was love. Because when you've lived your whole life under spotlights, finding someone who sees you in the dark, that's everything. And that's what Taylor meant when she said she knew he was the one. It wasn't about fairy tales or fame. It was about peace. It was about finally being seen not as Taylor Swift the superstar, but as Taylor the woman who finally found home. Months passed, and the whirlwind that had once surrounded Taylor and Travis began to quiet down. Not because people stopped caring, but because their story no longer needed drama to survive. It had matured just like they had. The world wasn't watching for scandals anymore. They were watching for moments, small, human glimpses of two people who'd found something real in an unreal world. Taylor's music started to sound different. Critics noticed it immediately. Gone were the cryptic heartbreak anthems and veiled jabs. In their place were songs full of calm confidence, melodies that felt lived in rather than written. Fans said her voice sounded freer, lighter even. One journalist wrote, "It's as if Taylor finally exhaled after holding her breath for 15 years." When asked in an interview what inspired the new tone of her music, Taylor simply smiled and said, "Peace." She didn't elaborate. She didn't need to. Meanwhile, Travis was having one of the best seasons of his career. But something had changed about him too. He wasn't chasing stats or headlines. He was playing with joy. Reporters noticed he stayed later after games, talking with fans, signing jerseys, laughing with teammates. He seemed grounded, like he had finally found balance between passion and purpose. In a post-game interview, when asked what kept him so focused, he smirked and said, "I've got good motivation waiting for me at home." The clip went viral instantly. Fans flooded social media with comments like, "That's love right there," and "Taylor really is his piece." But fame always has its price. During a red carpet appearance at an awards show, a reporter asked Taylor a question that caught her off guard. "Taylor, people are saying your relationship is changing who you are as an artist, that maybe you've lost your edge. What do you say to that?" She paused, smiled politely, and said, "Growth doesn't mean losing yourself. It means finding parts of you that the world never got to see." It was the kind of answer only Taylor could give. Poetic, measured, and piercing all at once. But when she got back to the hotel that night, she sat quietly by the window, staring at the city lights. "Do you ever feel like no matter what we do, they'll always try to twist it?" she asked softly. Travis joined her, sitting close enough for their shoulders to touch. "Yeah," he admitted. "But the truth doesn't need defending. It just needs living." She smiled faintly. "That sounds like something I'd write." He laughed. "Maybe I'm rubbing off on you." That night, she picked up her journal and scribbled a single line. "He's the calm I never knew I needed. The verse I didn't know was missing." Weeks later, that very line would become the opening lyric of her new album. When the album dropped, it shattered every record imaginable. Critics called it her most mature, emotionally rich body of work yet. It wasn't just music. It was closure. It was Taylor finally embracing happiness without fear that it might disappear. Fans noticed something else, too. The liner notes of the album included a simple dedication, "For T, my compass when the world spun too fast." The speculation reignited instantly. Was T Travis? The internet didn't need confirmation. They knew. In response, Travis posted nothing. No emojis, no captions, no tags. Just a photo, him wearing headphones staring out at a sunset. On the table beside him sat the vinyl version of Taylor's album. It said everything. Then came one of the most emotional moments in pop culture history. Taylor's tour had returned, and during the final night, in front of a stadium packed with over 70,000 fans, she paused mid-performance. "I've sung about heartbreak for most of my life," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "But tonight, I want to sing about what happens after. What happens when you stop chasing and finally start choosing." And with that, she began to play that song, the one she'd written for Travis months before, the one she swore she'd never perform again. Fans realized what was happening instantly. The stadium fell silent. Halfway through the song, cameras cut to the audience, and there he was. Travis Kelce standing near the stage, eyes locked on her, smiling proudly. He wasn't the NFL superstar in that moment. He was just a man watching the woman he loved bare her soul. As the final note faded, Taylor looked straight at him and whispered into the mic, "This one's forever." The crowd screamed. People cried. Social media exploded. But for her, that moment wasn't about the performance. It was about finally being brave enough to love out loud. Later that night, when the show ended and the lights went out, she ran off stage, straight into his arms. Cameras caught the moment. Blurry, chaotic, real. It went viral instantly, but neither of them cared. "You were incredible," he whispered. She looked up, tears in her eyes, smiling. "So were you, just for being here." And for the first time in her long, complicated relationship with fame, Taylor Swift didn't care who was watching. She wasn't performing anymore. She was living. The media, the fans, the critics, they could speculate all they wanted. But the truth was simple. She had found what she'd been writing about her entire career. Not fairy tales. Not fantasy. But forever. Years later, when the noise had faded and both their worlds had calmed, Taylor found herself sitting on the porch of their Nashville home, barefoot, hair tied in a loose braid, a notebook resting on her lap. The sun was setting, that same soft golden light that seemed to follow her whenever she wrote something important. Inside, Travis was cooking dinner, humming off-key to a song she'd released years ago. Life had slowed down. The endless tours, the constant media chases, the sleepless nights spent over lyrics and headlines, all of that had given way to something simpler: peace. Their relationship had gone through seasons, like all great stories do. There were highs that made the world stop, and quiet moments that never made the news. There were arguments, misunderstandings, long nights spent apart because of travel. But through it all, there was never doubt. Because from that very first moment, she knew. She'd said it once in an old interview. The moment you stop looking for love and start living for yourself, that's usually when love finds you. She didn't know it then, but she was foreshadowing this life, the one she'd built with him. Travis stepped out onto the porch, 2 plates in hand, his hair a little messy from the kitchen heat. "You writing again?" he asked, setting 1 plate beside her. She smiled without looking up. "Always." He grinned. "Should I be worried?" She looked up then, her eyes soft. "No, this one's about home." He sat beside her, the boards creaking under his weight. "Home, huh? That's a new one." Taylor flipped the page in her notebook and handed it to him. At the top, in her neat handwriting, was a single line: "Home isn't a place. It's the arms that never let you fall." He read it, smiled, and nodded slowly. "That's you. You always find the right words." She leaned against him. "And you always make them mean something." They sat there quietly, watching the last bit of sunlight fade. It wasn't the glamorous life most imagined for Taylor Swift, but it was the one she'd always wanted. The fame, the fortune, the chaos, none of it compared to this silence filled with meaning. A few months later, Taylor released what she called her final chapter album, a collection of songs written not about pain or loss, but about peace, gratitude, and maturity. Critics hailed it as her masterpiece. But there was one track, hidden near the end, that stood out more than any other. It was titled simply The One. It wasn't a power ballad. It wasn't dramatic. It was stripped down, just her voice, a piano, and the soft sound of rain. The lyrics were unlike anything she'd ever written. No flashing lights, no cameras near, just whispered truth that only we could hear. "You walked in quiet. I knew right then. My story finally found its end." The song faded with her voice barely above a whisper. "You were the calm, I was the storm. You held me steady, you kept me warm. No fairy tale, no kingdom's throne, just love. Simple, strong, and home." When it dropped, fans knew immediately who it was about. They cried, they smiled, they celebrated. But what touched people most wasn't that she'd found love. It was that she'd finally found peace. In an interview promoting the album, a journalist asked her, "When did you know? When did you know he was the one?" Taylor smiled that knowing smile, eyes glimmering with the kind of truth that doesn't need embellishment. "It wasn't one moment," she said softly. "It was every moment that felt too ordinary for the world to notice, but extraordinary to me. The quiet breakfasts, the road trips with no cameras, the nights he sat in the audience just to listen. That's when I knew." The interviewer nodded, moved. "And if you could say one thing to him right now, what would it be?" Taylor smiled wider, almost shyly, like the girl from Pennsylvania had never really left. "I'd tell him thank you, for seeing me before the world did, and for still seeing me after." That clip went viral within hours. Not because it was dramatic or breaking news, but because it was real. In a culture obsessed with chaos, their love story had quietly become something rare, genuine. Years later, after Taylor took a step back from performing and Travis retired from football, they both appeared together for the first time in a documentary. It wasn't about fame. It was about growth, legacy, and love. In the final scene, Taylor sat at the piano in their living room, playing a soft melody while Travis listened nearby. The camera lingered as she sang a few lines from The One. When she finished, she looked over at him. "Still think I've lost my edge?" she teased. He chuckled. "If that's losing your edge, then I hope you never find it again." She laughed, shaking her head. "You're still bad at compliments." He leaned in, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "You're still perfect at writing them." The screen faded to black with the words, "Some stories are written in ink." Ours was written in time. And that was it, the final chapter. No headlines, no press releases, no viral drama. Just two people who had lived, loved, and learned to be human in front of the world. Taylor Swift, the woman who spent her whole career writing about heartbreak, had finally written her greatest love song, and it wasn't for the charts. It was for him. And when asked years later what that song truly meant, she said just 3 words. The same 3 words that started it all. He was the one. And as the years went on, Taylor and Travis became more than just a love story. They became a reminder that in a world full of noise, the quiet kind of love is the one that lasts. No scandals, no staged moments, just two people who found something real and held onto it when the world tried to tear it apart. Because at the end of the day, fame fades, trends change, and the spotlight eventually moves on. But love like theirs, that's forever. Taylor once said in her final interview, "I spent my whole life trying to turn my pain into poetry. But this time, I turned peace into a promise." And maybe that's the most beautiful part of her story. Not how it began, not how the world watched it unfold, but how it ended quietly, perfectly, with the peace she'd been writing toward all along. As fans, we've seen Taylor transform from heartbreak to healing, from fairy tales to forever. And it all led to this one undeniable truth. She didn't just write love songs. She lived one. Because the moment she met Travis Kelce, she didn't just find love, she found home. And that's the real ending to one of Hollywood's greatest love stories. Thanks for watching, and if you don't want to miss the next big story in the world of celebrity love, scandal, and truth, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Subscribe to Celeb Gossip Snap, where we bring you the real stories behind the stars, the moments that make headlines, and the truths they never tell on camera. Because this is just the beginning.